Right before Russ graduated in 1973 with his master's degree from the Krannert School of Management, he interviewed with Burroughs Corporation, the second largest computer manufacturer at the time, behind IBM. He had just discovered programming through the master's program, and they were looking for systems analysts to help automate their scheduling system at their fabrication facility in Detroit, Michigan.
For somebody that's just studied operations research for 2 years, scheduling a fabrication shop is like catnip. So the interviewer probably thought I was going to jump across the table into their arms because it combined programming and OR, and I didn't care that it was in Detroit. It turned out to be an extraordinary decision on my part. Being the second largest computer maker at the time, their stuff was selling like hotcakes. They were awash in money. So, and they were hiring systems analysts, and to be considered, you had to have an MBA. You had to have a business master's for an entry-level systems analysis job. I bounced back and forth between software development, project management, staff consulting positions. Since the middle 80s, I've lived in Philadelphia. I transferred out here with Burroughs in early 80s to manage the largest application development that they'd ever done. I was one of there was three top managers, and I was the technical architect and kind of the troubleshooter. In developing this, it was a manufacturing control system, a comprehensive system. It was very much like SAP, but it wasn't called SAP. I mean, it was the Burroughs version of it, and it was accounts payable and finance and purchasing and you know, MRP and CRP and we had all the buzzwords. And you could run your whole manufacturing plant from it. And Burroughs intended to run all of theirs with it, and they wanted to sell it as a product, to their credit. So it was very successful. We were very proud of our system. And Burroughs, being a hardware developer and a hardware sales organization in their DNA, it was a big step for them to be spending all this money developing a big piece of software, and they started selling it, and they started falling on their face because they were trying to sell it like it always sold hardware, and they wanted to get the papers signed, the checks exchanged, shake hands, and go on to the next customer. And that's fine if you're delivering a computer that the other person is going to take charge of and program. That wasn't the case here. People were buying their computers because of this software, and they were going to revamp their entire manufacturing operation around this software. And Burroughs had nothing to offer them. So they were creating this big vacuum, and so 3 of us from the development team left and started a company to fill that void. And we were expert in the system, we were accredited in manufacturing, we were expert implementers, we were very good business analysts, and we were comfortable with everybody in a manufacturing facility, from the stockroom clerk up to the plant manager. And we were finishing up our first job, and Burroughs pulled the system and stopped selling it. They just put it on the shelf. That started Burroughs' downward spiral, and our business was very nearly collateral damage from that, because we were filling a vacuum in their sales process. So we had lots of meetings about what the heck are we going to do now, and decided to do barcode-based shop manufacturing control systems. It was a lot of hard work, and I enjoyed it, but it was tough. There was never any relaxing, and it was long hours and late nights and everything you'd expect, because we were we were a startup without venture capital funding. We were self-funded and struggling to sell people on this wonderful idea of barcodes. And so the twins were 3.5, and I saw them slipping away is not quite the right term, but I had serious hopes around being a father and what that meant, and fatherhood, and doing a good job of it, whatever that means. And so I was trying to do a good job of the business, and I was trying to do a good job of being a father, and I don't think I was actually doing a good job of either because of that. And so something had to give, and I'm eternally grateful to my wife for enabling me to stay home with them for 2 years. It was a big change for me, not just to figure out what, being primary caregiver means, but it was also, I'm a technologist, and I just am 20 years into a very heavy technology career, and I am keenly aware of cutting edge technology, and now I start to think about, okay, I'm in charge of these 2 young people, and what are they facing when they grow up, and what impact is it having right now on them? And so I started to think and study the effect of technology on society. And I did some volunteer work with the Police Athletic League, setting up computer systems and networks in their facilities in various neighborhoods, just to get computing and computers into places that wouldn't otherwise have any opportunity to have that. So those things all mixed together to change my thinking. I was a different person after those 2 years than when I started. There was, kind of the hard business edge came off, and I was much more interested in people and the impact I was having on people by the stuff I was knew how to do. And had I known these things, had I had this wisdom when I first started my career, would I have implemented some of those systems differently? And would I approach the problem of automation differently? And I probably would have.
When it was time for the kids to start school, Russ began interviewing to launch a new career. He was hired by the Defender Association of Philadelphia, the public defenders for the Philadelphia courts. This program represents nearly 70% of all arrests in the city, which can result in nearly 900 new clients each week. Russ was their director of technology for a 20-year career, with his primary goal of implementing an enterprise-class business system to replace a sea of typewriters on a meager budget with little to no resources.
There were 8 computers in the entire organization, and they were all used as word processors. The problem became, how do you apply technology in an organization from the inside out with barely any money? And so you do it by creating a vision, where are we headed, and then you nibble away to fill it out. And it requires patience, it requires very careful selection of technologies, it requires pushing forward when it's appropriate, and holding back when it's appropriate. And but they were always between a rock and a hard place budget-wise. And I had made a pledge that I would run the IT department as frugally as I possibly could. And I kept that pledge. I felt it was important work. The people at that organization, the attorneys that do that day in, day out, I'd see attorneys come back from court and they were in tears just because of the stuff that they'd encountered, and yes, a lot of the clients were guilty, but there were some that weren't, and that's what it's all about. And so that's what, floated my boat in a sense, that, I was really interested in helping these people do what they did. And I was just in awe that some of these are Yale attorneys and Harvard attorneys, and they're doing their best professional job for this person they know damn well is guilty. And the reason they're doing it is because that's what the Constitution demands. And so they were making it come alive. And I wanted to make their life as easy as I could, because everything else about how they were doing was hell. Anything you can do technology-wise to make life better, to ease the load a little bit, helps. And so that's what I felt like I was doing. And so it was very rewarding.